You know, I thought I was doing so well until the little button was grayed out, and then I had a moment where I just kind of panicked. But here we are. Hello, we are live, allegedly. If you can see and hear me, please do say so. Um, there are lots of little happy things, so I assume that you can see and hear me. That is wonderful. Just the first thing that I feel like you should know is that I did bring some cheese. Like, we've been trying to empty the fridge, and so the only thing that we have is like mild cheddar from Aldi. But I did bring a small amount of cheese, which I will mostly not be eating on the stream because that's just kind of weird. Unless that's a specific thing. I feel like the lip smacking noises are weird unless it's an ASMR video or something. Anyway, we're good to go. You can see it's a little quiet. Okay, thank you. Let's see if we can turn it up a bit. There we go. Or we could just move the mic closer, I suppose. Well, I say we could move the mic closer. That may be a lie. Sorry. Anyway, thank you, Classic Lover. This is for Moving Day Stress Chocolate. Thank you. It is, yeah, it's gonna be fine. Things are actually happening. Penguin Temple, my hard copy came in today. Hooray! A lot of people's did, which is great. Two things before we start, I guess, that we already have. First of all, if you've never been to one of these live streams before, they do get a little random. You know, because we just kind of dive off down little rabbit holes or rabbit trails or whatever it is. But, you know, we have a good time. Generally speaking, we have a good time. And you can hear me, and that is wonderful. And the chat has gone many places. Ooh, distortion coming through. All right, let's turn that down. Okay. Showing green rather than yellow, which is better. I had, you know, generally I have it set up for live streaming for patrons. Obviously I missed last month's live stream for patrons because my cat had to go to the hospital, to the vet, and then eventually it was not a good time anyway. But yes, I had it set up for audiobook reading, which obviously is slightly different, and then I tried to turn it up on the fly. That was a bad idea. I probably shouldn't do these things. Okay, so, oh, the cheese. Wonderful. You've gone quieter again. Yes, that was intentional. But here we go. Welcome to the release night live stream. The thing is, Amazon. So the way it works on Amazon Kindle specifically is that by 11:59 p.m. Thursday night my time, so 70 hours ago basically at this point, it locked the files that I have on there. So I had uploaded the final files and that was all fine, but it locked them on Thursday night, and it was like, nope, you can't change these again until after it's been published. And I said, that's fine, everything's good. But if you ordered a Kindle copy and you've already got the Kindle copy, like it's already downloaded to your Kindle, can you like drop a book emoji or just say Kindle or something like that in the comments? Because I think that is happening. Are there going to be book readings? Yes, there are. We're mainly going to stick to like the first chapter because it feels a bit spoilery to do it any other way. But if we do any more spoilery later in the book readings, we will at least try and stick to the bits which are already the shorts, so you kind of already know what happens if you've watched the videos, which I assume you have. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so nobody seems to have the Kindle yet, the Kindle version yet, but you know, it's all good. There are lots of little hearts just appearing in the screen. I am very unused to this, and there are 700 of you, like 695 people in the chat. I'm very glad to see you all. Tangents and rabbit holes, surely not. Right, waiting for my Amazon order to arrive this afternoon. This is good, Lyndall. We like this. Yeah, a lot of people. It depends where. If you have got an Amazon pre-order and it's coming, the Amazon pre-orders are fulfilled by Ingram Spark. I know it's weird and it doesn't make sense. It's just because Ingram Spark will do pre-orders and Amazon will not do that for paperbacks. Physical book here, amazing. 743, 734. We're here. We're all good. No Kindle in Sweden yet. All right. I am not a robot. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Listen, my Kindle says it's available tomorrow. Okay, 5 hours. I mean, I'm in the UK, so it is 10:05 here. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Jim. It's 10:05 here, and so the Kindle version is supposed to be ready to go in 2 hours, which I'm hoping is actually the case. Like, it said specifically it's going to drop at midnight GMT, and so that is why I'm staying up very late. Yes, I'm in love with the cover art. I'm very happy to hear that. I have had a significant number of people in the comments and elsewhere. I think if people don't watch a lot of the shorts, like they just see a few of them and then they're like, oh, it's a book, well, I'll order the book, that's amazing. They don't understand that Caroline is not a real person. Like, they think Caroline is me. Even when I respond to their comments and I have a different name and also a different voice. I mean, maybe people can't really tell about accents and stuff, but they don't know that Caroline is not a real person, and so they keep asking me, how did you get on with the cover, because of the cover release short, where I'm like, where Caroline is very upset because there are notes all over the cover. And I have to explain that, no, that's the cover, that's how you know that it's meta, sort of thing. I love the little scene dividers. That is not a spoiler at all. There are scene dividers, which are little tiny cross daggers, and they're so cute. And I love them so much. They are, in fact, hang on. They are, in fact, these little cross daggers, which I can't even see if you can see them on the screen, but these little cross daggers on the front, they're just like a grayscale version of those. You're not Caroline. Indeed. It's all the people telling me, it's all the people who have opinions about Caroline's, like, fan fiction and stuff. Like, oh, this is fan fiction that you turned into a book. I'm like, no, that's just what happens in the book. This, the actual story is even weirder. But there we go. But who steals Caroline? That is a very good question. And no, look, some people can't, they just can't recognize the difference between accents. And, that is okay. Caroline is real and inspired me to buy a blue and white striped button-up. So, yes, hang on, words. Okay. So, because I wanted everybody to be able to, I wanted as many people as possible to be able to buy a paperback book or an ebook. Both of them are available on Amazon and on not Amazon. And the Amazon copy is now available to just buy. So if you pre-ordered from Amazon, then that's being fulfilled by a different company. Don't ask. But you'll get it, and some people have been getting theirs already, which is great. The Waterstones pre-orders, a lot of people's are coming in. I had a message from a friend of mine who I do staged combat with to say that hers just arrived today. I was like, that's pretty exciting. Some people who have ordered from Barnes & Noble are like, I'm not getting mine till next week. And I'm like, oh, sorry about that. Some people have already got theirs. But we're just working it out. I'm preparing a special type of baked cheese just for this event. I'm so glad to hear it. Okay, so for those of you who don't understand about the cheese thing, I feel I should explain the cheese thing, at least briefly. I grew my hair long when I was in my early 20s, and back when the internet had a lot of forums on it, as opposed to everything just being Twitter or whatever. And I ended up on a place called the Long Hair Community, where they had a bunch of different forums, and one of the forums was for polls, and you could poll about anything you wanted to. But in order to keep the atmosphere, lighthearted, and we're just growing our hair, it's not that deep, most of the polls would have like they would have a cheese option. And so there would be, you know, very heated debates on very specific things to do with hair care, which you probably won't care about if you don't know anything about hair care. But it's like, do you use silicones, you know, products containing silicones on your hair, or do you not? It's like, yes, I do, and they're amazing, and no, I don't, but, you know, that's fine, and no, I don't, and no one should use them. And then, you know, and there was one option that was just like, I like cheese. Because it was there to remind you that it wasn't that deep. And so I started using the I like cheese option when I did polls, because everybody liked the I don't know you lady option far too much. Like, they would press the I don't know you lady option even if they already knew me, because it was funny. And so I was like, I need to find an option that is low lift, right? Because people like voting. And so I tried I like voting for a while, and then I thought, what about I like cheese? Because quite a lot of people like cheese. Anyway, someone just asked, when are the bookmarks coming? There aren't any bookmarks? You have to make your own. Or, like, print your own? I don't really know. Anyway, I have not made any bookmarks, is the answer to that question. So, yeah. Also, I have a merch shop. I have two, actually, because they're both on Spreadshop, but it's like Jill Bearup or Jill-Bearup Spreadshop, because apparently America need a different one with a different name. I don't understand it, but there we are. I am wearing one of my hoodies today. It says "Just Stab Me Now," and you can't really see it because of the pop filter, but never mind. At least you can hear me properly. But they don't do bookmarks. They do bumper stickers on the American store, not the European store. But they don't do bookmarks. Or notebooks, which is weird. But apparently KDP, you can do like a low, I don't know why I'm doing it with only one hand. I do have two hands, like low content books, which I think are basically the, you know, notebooks. Amazon is recommending a bunch of dandruff, this, that, and the other based on the purchase of your book. I know why that is. Because she is a lady who has a TikTok series about, which are basically all of the different heroines of the different romance genres talking to each other. And so they have like a paranormal romance lady is wearing a flannel shirt and she's from the American South, and historical romance lady has a little tiara, and fantasy romance, maybe that's fantasy romance, and then contemporary romance is like wearing, you know, the hairband and has a mafia boyfriend or something. Anyway, she is also someone who has written books and has a TikTok series, but the TikTok series that she does is not related to her books, as far as I know. Elizabeth Wheatley, there we go, that's her name. Bookmarks, tiny daggers. Anyway. Got a big old crush on paranormal romance. Paranormal romance is absolutely the best character in that TikTok series, and I like her very much. Anyway, so we are. So if you're wondering why she is on your feed, that is why. I get her, and I also get J.L. And now I'm worried that I've got his middle initial wrong. J.L. Mullins, as in the millennial mage guy. It's like he published this book called Mageling. I'm like, I know, I've read that one. And apparently several more books since. I'm like, dang, that dude is on fire. I mean, I know he'd already written them on Royal Road, but still. And I also get Jerry F. Westinger, who's oh gosh, A Bad Place to Be a Hero. I reviewed, I did like a sponsor spot for on the channel as well. And A Bad Time to Meet the Family, but I've also read that one. But I think there's going to be a third book in that series, which I'm quite excited for. Anyway, I'm off to bed. Thank you, Valdegast, and don't forget to feed the cat. Listen, Nemo is really, well, he was a little bit upset after Sherlock died. He was a little bit out of sorts for a couple of days, but now he's really out of sorts because he doesn't get to steal Sherlock's food. As in there is a much lower level of just like food sitting around the place, because, you know, old cats, they are fussy. And if they leave their food, then maybe you can sneak in and get it. But now there isn't that, and so he has to go other places and get food, I'm pretty sure. Any tips for aspiring writers? That is such a flattering question, but also like, no. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean absolutely everything about me is weird. I mean, except for I think except for the part where you write a first draft and then you're like, actually, this isn't too bad. But like absolutely everything about this is like, this is okay. And then you read it again, you're like, ah. I personally find writing a book extremely difficult. Well, the writing of the first draft part was relatively quick, but I'd never been able to do it before, and frankly I don't think I'm not convinced I would ever be able to do it again. The only reason I was able to do it was because I already had this existing outline, because every time I've tried to write an outline before, I'm like, I don't know what happens. But this time I kind of had one, and then it was a case of how far do I need to bend this to actually make it work, as in make sense as a novel, because there are a lot of things you can just kind of gloss over in a short series that is told in 45-second snippets. But everything about me is weird. That is a great bumper sticker. There's a lot you can kind of gloss over in 45-second things that you cannot in an 81,000 word book. You have to like actually explain stuff. Awesome Hawkins. That's a great name, but bye anyway. Extremely difficult sounds normal. That's fair enough. But like, I understand that there are people who really, you know, even though it's really hard, they enjoy writing. I'm not one of those people, I have discovered. I don't, possibly I would have been if I hadn't been under such a, like a really tight time constraint, but I'm not one of those people. Like, so I spent the last week, aside from packing and doing all of the legal stuff related to houses, I feel like I've been moving house for months, and then I figured out that we put our house on the market like 5 months ago. So, yes. Anyway, hey, bring on the Nerd Quest novel. Mike J needs to get on that. And nice to see you, Matt. Oh dear. I would not mind a Nerd Quest novel. I think that would be quite funny. Anyway, last week I have been writing a script for a fight analysis for Mirror Mirror, you know, the one with Julia Roberts, like the allegedly flirty sword fight. Like, it's definitely a sword fight, but it's allegedly flirty in Mirror Mirror, because I'd seen people had recommended it to me. And then there were some clips, some very abbreviated clips of it online, and I was like, oh, these don't look bad. All right, so I bought the DVD or whatever, and I had a look, and I watched the movie, and I was not necessarily very impressed. But sorry, I lost my train of thought. This is what happens when I look at the chat. I try and read and talk at the same time, and it never works. Never works. Anyway, yeah, I looked at it, and I went, this is a really well choreographed sword fight, and it's not executed terribly, but it's just so bad. Like, it's like one of my thumbnails, because I now have test and compare, so I can have up to 3, and then YouTube tells me which one everybody likes. One of my thumbnails is the 2 characters in the fight, and it says white rice versus mayonnaise, which is basically how the fight goes. And that script was 6.5 pages long, and I'm editing it now. And I have like 45 minutes of footage in there, which I need to edit down, because obviously I'm very out of practice for doing long form videos. But it was so much fun. And I was writing it and doing all this stuff and going, oh yeah, I remember. I love my job. I have a really great job. I love it so much. This is going to be fantastic. Or at least I'm going to like it anyway. So that was nice. I have read Fourth Wing, and I'm now reading Iron Flame. I just think of you the whole time with your female protagonist tropes. This is the thing. People keep, when I first started making the videos, people kept saying to me, like, so you've been reading A Court of Whatever thing, and I'd be like, no. I haven't read any of these things. Oh, you've been reading Fourth Wing. I'm like, no, I haven't read that. Like, I read a bunch of things, but I don't really read romantasy at all. I got it all via osmosis from, like, TikTok, and also from reading a lot of random romance novels when I was younger. Like, I read a lot of Danielle Steele, because at one time there were a fair number of Danielle Steele novels in my house, and they're all basically, you know, like, they all follow a very similar formula, but in different places. So obviously, you know, you have I read everything, which is why I tried to read Lord of the Rings when I was like 11, and it was not a good time. Anyway, I did finally, by virtue of reading it aloud as a bedtime story to Ursa Minor, I finally actually read the whole of The Hobbit. Like, A Court of Whatever and Things is actually going to be the name of the sixth book. Look, eventually they're going to run out of 9s, right? Thank you, Jordan. Happy book release. I appreciate that. It has been a fairly long road. Why must I work tomorrow? I need actual sleep. No, yeah, I know. It is sad. But I figure I am going to be knackered tomorrow. Absolutely, I'm going to be out of it. But I work from home, and so that is not quite so bad. I'm like, I just have to make sure to get up and deliver child to school, and everything will be fine. I'm like, I just got to do that, and then I can come home and take a nap. Unfortunately, other people have to like be grown-ups and balance whether or not they're going to do that. But Ursa Minor, as in, this is what we call my child, because, you know, the internet is full of weirdos, and also it's funny. Because I used to be called Sursa Ursa on the internet once. I read Lord of the Rings at 13. It took me an entire year. Yeah. Did you know your fantasy heroine series has a TV tropes page? I love it. That brings me great joy. That brings me great joy. A Court of Cheese and Daggers. Not gonna lie, I would read A Court of Cheese and Daggers. I would. Donna's here. Yay. I boo to being a grown-up. Yes. But I'm glad that Donna's here, because she did say that the place where she lives is currently being hit by major storms, and so people might lose power. Now, it's quite windy here. So if I do suddenly disappear, if you hear like strange noises, it might just be the wind in the trees outside. And if I disappear, it's probably because of that. Like, something has blown over and knocked the power out. But I'm hoping there aren't any weather warnings for tonight, so I'm hoping that we will in fact be okay. And I've even plugged us into the modem instead of just using the Wi-Fi, because, you know, I'm good like that. I was basically forced to read the first book of the Harry Potter series and was definitely too young. Yeah, see, my... let's try that in English. Yes, Ursa Minor is a huge fan of the Harry Potter books, and so I have read out loud the first 3, like, many times each. I have also read the whole of Goblet of Fire once. Although I say the whole of it, I did kind of skim over parts which I thought might be a bit disturbing. You know. Cross fingers your power doesn't go out. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. Like I said, there aren't any, you know, the wind is quite strong, or it has been for most of the day, but we should be alright. Says, ads will run shortly for some viewers. Skip ads. Let's skip some ads, because, well, congratulations on release day. Thank you. Book came in today and it looks so good. Great. I got a TikTok, like, comment from someone who was like, my book arrived, but it's a misprint. And so I said, what sort of misprint? But I have not yet got an answer to that. Like, obviously that's sad. But I'm wondering, like, is it a misprint like the cover is wrong? Or is it a misprint like there's a cover and then inside is a completely different thing? That might be something to check, because, like, inside it should say, just stab me now. And then on the next page it should say, just stab me now in, oh dear, sorry, in more fancy writing. But here we are. It's bad in California, but not as bad as it could be. I'm glad to hear that. Audiobooks, you know, this is, I like the font change with the different points of view. Yeah, it was, when I did a call for, I said, I need an editor, I need a typesetter, I need a cover artist. I think that cover artist was the one I got least responses for. So only 25. But typesetter was not too far behind that. I only got about 30 responses. And then when I sent out emails, I only got about 6, maybe, responses to, you know, when I said, this is the sort of thing I'm looking for, can you help? but Waterstones is telling me it's still awaiting publication. I mean, technically, it doesn't publish until midnight, so like an hour and a half. Was there a Google ebook? Can't find it. Why? There is not a Google ebook, or at least I don't think so. I will put it up there at some point, but I was hoping that Ingram Spark would put it on the Google Play Store, but they don't seem to have done that, so I'm gonna have to do it myself, which means I'm gonna have to figure out how to do it myself, which may take some time because it's a bit complicated. You have to do, like, the tax things and fill in the forms and all of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of snow in northern Nevada. Fair enough. Is that usual? Like, not to stereotype, but basically I only know US states by, or sometimes cities by, like, one thing. So Iowa equals corn, Wisconsin equals cheese, Idaho, they're all food related. They're mostly food related. No, we did that one. Idaho equals potatoes. California equals almonds, which are slowly killing everybody because they require a lot of water and it's a desert. It might not be almonds, but I think it's something like almonds. Anyway, which makes more money, social media or writing a book? That depends on what timescale you are talking about. Because I have been making YouTube videos for almost 14 years now. So I've definitely made more money by doing that. On the other hand, you know, the book is selling quite well, which is great. I have no idea how many actual Amazon copies have been sold, but we are basically at 17,000 pre-orders. I thought, you know, I'm very happy to be wrong about it, but I thought that people would buy the Kindle version or like the ebook version, because, you know, it's cheap and it has all the words in it, right? Right. Apparently I was wrong about that. So we have some unknown number of Apple books and whatever pre-orders, things that aren't Kindle. I would imagine it's probably less than 1,000, just because, just because, lost my train of thought again, because we're talking about almonds. 2 liters of water per almond. Wow. Just because it's, you know, Kindle is the main game in town, right? But I've sold 6,000 and change ebook pre-orders on the Kindle, and 11,000 paperback pre-orders via Ingram Spark. So whether you got your pre-order on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Waterstones or wherever, like 11,000. So nearly twice as many. Was not expecting that. It is a really good cover though. Like, my cover artist is Scott Perry, and like, he's amazing and worked extremely hard on it, including when I called him in August and was like, I'm really sorry, we need to scrap this entire original concept and we need to do a different thing. So yeah, 17,000 pre-orders. That's a lot. What is logic to people who need physical objects? I mean, fair enough. We, when my husband and I got married, I was like, okay, I think Kindle arrived last night here in Australia. Okay, it might deliver it to you at midnight on the 5th of February, your time then. Interesting. Somebody asked for an update. Will there be a hardback? Probably, yeah, at some point. Hopefully by the end of the year. But I make no promises on that. Like, I don't know. I have not even started thinking about it. There is a typeset version of it, which it turns out that the paperback has some, like, typos. There are like 4. 2 of them you absolutely will not notice. So it doesn't, you know, no one's going to die of it. But I fixed them all on the ebook version, and I did that myself, which I was very proud of. But I can't fix the paperback or the hardback because they are my typesetter gave me the files, but they are InDesign files, so I can't fix this myself. I don't have InDesign. I know how to use InDesign from back in the day when I worked in church administration and we used InDesign for stuff, but that's not the point. There will be a hardback, but I have no idea what the cover is going to be, and so I'm not thinking about it until the audiobook is done, and the audiobook is currently like 0% complete, because I tried to... so the first I did one complete read-through, which was grand, and I caught like 50 errors or something, and we fixed all of those, so that was great. But I didn't have the... like I didn't have I've totally forgotten where that sentence was going. I'm sorry, it's quite late here. This is... Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't have the audio basically set up properly, but I knew that. I was like, no, this is just a sort of practice. It's fine. And then I tried to set up this stuff better and do it again. Unfortunately, quite a lot of the time when I was trying to finish that off, like half of the chapters were recorded in between my neighbor digging up his garden with a little mini digger. And then there was a pneumatic drill involved at one point, and then there was one of those big machines that like thumps the ground down by like hitting it repeatedly. I'm not quite sure what that's called, but yes, it was my audio engineer, who's also my cover artist. He wears many hats. He was like, I can hear the stress in your voice. I'm like, that's fair. Maybe we'll just wait until after I move. And then I will be living somewhere where hopefully my neighbors will not decide to dig up their gardens when I need to record stuff. And I will have plenty of time to do it. It'll be grand. I'm in Scotland, so I'm going to bed soon. That is fair. Yes, brain stole it. That is exactly what happens to me sometimes. This is why I have scripts, you know. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, live streaming, great. I'm like, yes, I have talked now for half an hour, basically off the cuff. And it was, yeah. What was the original design concept? The original design concept had, I would say my face, but I don't mean my face. I mean, half of it was Caroline's face and half of it was Rosamund's face, and they had two different backgrounds and they were separated by a sword. And it was, it was... Basically what happened was I took it to ninja camp, as in stage combat camp, and I was, you know, I would tell people that I was writing a book, and they'd be like, oh, that's really cool, and they'd be really enthusiastic, and then I'd show them the cover, and then they'd have that, like, microsecond of a, like, that, you know, like a, that's wrong kind of face, and then they'd be, you know, really enthusiastic about it, because they're nice people, and like, oh, wow, it's, So if that happens with one person, you're like, okay. When that happens 3 times in a row, like that little micro hesitation, like, this is not the right cover for this book. Because you have had the concept explained to you and you don't like this cover. And, I mean, cool. That's okay. Let's see. You're tired and susceptible to suggestion. I am not susceptible to suggestion when tired, as a general rule. Because I'm susceptible to suggestion when optimistic, because like the people who are like, oh yeah, feature film version, yeah, someone told me once, someone told me once that I shouldn't write a book, I should instead do a Netflix series, and I was like, I appreciate that you think that it would make a better Netflix series than a book. This was quite a while ago. Okay. I appreciate that. I have made or been involved in the making of a bunch of like student films and short films and stuff in my life. I was generally not in charge of them except you know, a couple of times, but like, oh no, I've lost my train of thought again. Oh no. I don't think that people understand exactly how complicated it is to get something made. Like, even if you are entirely independent and you're working with a crew of 4 people, like, like a Netflix series, the number of people involved in even a really low-key thing that is good enough to be put on Netflix is immense. The amount of money that you have to put in is very high, whereas book writing, even if it turns out to be a really rubbish book, all I will have wasted is my own time. And I don't love wasting my own time, but that's a lot better than, you know, right. That's a lot better than wasting a whole bunch of my time and money. I can't think how the meta would be made into a Netflix series, but maybe I'm being unimaginative. I mean, a bunch of people were like, it would be really fun as a theater play, and I think that's true. But you would of course at that point just have to have two different people to play Caroline and Rosamund, because otherwise they can't talk to each other, you know. And obviously two different people to play Caroline and Henry and Leo. They just have to kind of look similar. It's fine. People don't appreciate the number of people need to make a film. Like, no, absolutely not. It is a very complicated undertaking. Jill never loses her train of thought on live streams. I do patron live streams, and when there are patron live streams, because it's like $5 patrons and up, and it's always at a specific time, and it doesn't always go in for you know, people's time zones don't always line up, which is fine. That means that the highest number of people I have at a live stream is like 15, and even then I will still absolutely lose my train of thought, which is, you know, you've got to cast twins as Caroline and Rosamund. Yeah, suddenly there's an opening for identical twins who both act. Yeah. Rita, Leo, and Caroline snippet. Oh yeah. So yeah, we are like 40 minutes in at this point, very nearly. What if they were twin actors or actresses? Like, you could absolutely do that, but you know, the number of twins in the world who are also actors is not necessarily high. Congratulations on reaching your goal. Thank you. Jill never loses her train of thought on live streams is absolutely, you know, it's like one of those such blatant lies that it could be like a meme. Just got my paperback copy. Amazing. When will the audiobook come out? When it is done. Yeah, it's currently, as I said, it is currently 0% complete, basically. Because as far as I know, none of the 40 odd hours I've recorded has worked. Though the guy doing my editing did say, you sound so much more relaxed when you're on camera. Could you not just like set up the microphone and then put the camera in front of you and then just read it to the camera, because you it just sounds so much better. I'm like, I could do that. I could do that. Vin Diesel has a twin brother. The guy who played Xander in Buffy has a twin brother. And I know this because I have a book about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which my dad bought me one Christmas when I was like 15 or ish, and it explained in the book a bunch of different things, but it also said that in the one where there are two Xanders for some reason, that the actor's twin brother played the other Xander, and I was like, oh, there you go. The mic and camera idea is brilliant. I hope so. I will at least give it a go, and you know, I can always like put the first couple of chapters on YouTube, so it's quite a lot of actors who are twins, only one of them acts. I mean, that seems to be fair. Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman are basically twins. I mean, that is true though. That is true. Like, it takes you a really long time watching The Phantom Menace to realize that they're actually two different people. You know, like, if you had them side by side, you could tell the difference, or at least I feel like I could tell the difference, but still. Here we are. Right. Okay. The actor who played Victor on Dollhouse also has a twin. Oh, I've watched Dollhouse. I like borrow the DVDs from a friend of mine. I swear we're gonna read some of the book in a second, but hold that thought, because yeah, so I watched Dollhouse, and I watched all of the seasons, and I then returned the DVDs to the friend who had lent them to me, and I said, I can't tell if I just watched something awesomely horrendous, like horrendously awesome, or awesomely horrendous. Like, I don't know. But the one thing that I absolutely, that just blew me away on Dollhouse every single time was the guy who played Victor. And I was like, dang, that is acting, because he was so, his physicality was so different, and he looked physically so different. It took me a long time to realize that it was the same person being these three different characters. And it blew me away, because you have Thingy, who's Faith from Buffy, who plays Echo, and the thing is that she always looks the same. She just wears different outfits, right? But his performances were so different. I was like, dang. Like, that's some really good acting. Anyway. Choose two very similar actors. Get some FX company to do the face replacement thing. Anyway. Dollhouse was enjoyable TV, but in context so bad. Like, yeah, it was sort of like, I watched it and I was like, the concept for this is like the most horrifying thing I've ever seen. This is monstrous. Justice for Victor was one of his early roles. Gonzo with Leo. Muppet Christmas Carol was one of my favorite. I love Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island, actually. What about an animated series? Like, yes, I mean, but that runs into the same trouble, right? Because I can record an audiobook, right? And I can write a book, as it turns out. Whether it's good or not, I leave to your judgment, but, I did write it. But, I don't draw. And obviously, like, actually making an animated show involves a lot more than just that, and also, like, dozens of people. But anyway. All earthly project things have tons of typos in them. So do Isadora Moon books. If you don't know what Isadora Moon is, she's half vampire, half fairy, and they're books for children, and you should never buy the hardbacks, because they are riddled with typos. Anyway. Always wait for the paperback, because then they've fixed most of the typos. And maybe introduced a couple of new ones. Anyway. Let us read from chapter 1, because we should introduce the characters. So if you are absolutely mad keen on avoiding any kind of spoilers, look away now. Alright. Chapter 1. I can't believe it! Lady Rosamond Hawkhurst had lived through worse days than this, but not many. A trip to Abrinia with one guard would be risky even in peacetime. A pair of long hose flew through the air to land precisely on top of a set of saddlebags at the foot of her four-poster bed. Why is Queen Eudocia willing to send me thus while we're still at war? She pulled an undershirt from a drawer, shook a stray Caladrius feather out of the sleeve, and folded the garment roughly before dropping it on a saddlebag and flopping onto the bed. Hasn't Hawkhurst given her enough already? The distant tap of the morning drum came flooding back, as sharp as the day she'd heard it 11 months ago. The black-robed messengers had been all too visible out of the window, and when she'd seen them, she'd slumped against the wall, shaking. Sir Hugo Hawkhurst was dead, killed in the war between her home country, Abrinia, and Bavaria, where she had lived for the last 16 years. But grief was a luxury afforded to those who didn't have an estate to look after, so Rosamond had straightened her dress, wiped her eyes, and marched wordlessly downstairs to face a future without her husband in it. At the funeral, she'd hugged her sobbing daughter and stared up at the ceiling to keep her own tears in check. Her son hadn't spoken for the entire day. Both of her children had vanished as soon as the ceremony concluded, and Rosamond was grateful that they, at least, had been able to mourn in private. But somehow, that day had passed, as even the worst ones must, and they had all been learning to cope. Until last month, when Baron Mabry, their liege lord, had come to visit. He'd complained at length about a shortage of Caladrius salve for his men, despite having claimed most of the stock delivered to the front lines a mere fortnight prior, before beginning to pontificate upon the Hawkhurst estate's lack of martial leadership. As long as the war continues, I simply must have a Hawkhurst knight to lead the soldiers at the front. Perhaps Edmund will be free to assume the duty soon, despite his tender years. Rosamond had demurred as politely as possible. Edmund was barely 15, she had argued. Surely there could be no reason to let an untried youth lead troops into battle.
But Mabry had kept up the pressure ever since. She needed a more effective deterrent, and that meant she needed to curry favour with the Bavarian crown. She needed Eudocia to intervene. When the news of King Adelric's death and the ascension of his son Roland to the Abrenian throne arrived at Hawkhurst, Rosamund kissed her children goodbye and made haste to Valeria, the Bavarian capital, to offer her services to the Queen. The last thing she wanted was for her family to get more involved in the war, but better her than Edmund. And given her personal connection to King Roland, Rosamund was sure that Eudocia would be eager to make use of her. But Rosamund's audience with the Queen had not gone as anticipated, and now she was back in the palace's guest quarters, packing for a trip that might as well have been a suicide mission. She drew a deep, shuddering breath. Have I offended the crown in some way? Does Eudocia not want to make peace with Ebrenia? She hauled herself into a sitting position, too agitated to stay still. And where did I put my green knife? Sudden, absolute silence fell, the normal noises of the palace abruptly cutting off. Rosamund jumped to her feet and ran to the window. Outside, everything had frozen in place. The Queen's pet phoenix perched on a flagpole in the courtyard, golden tail feathers glittering. Guards clad in blue and gold paused mid-step. A nobleman stood with one arm suspended in the middle of an expansive gesture. A woman appeared. Not through the door, nor the window, no. She simply blinked into existence at Rosamund's elbow. Her outfit was incongruously modern, a striped blue shirt, blue-framed glasses, and tightly bund red hair with a rollerball pen stuck through it. She and Rosamund were otherwise almost identical. And as the second woman appeared, the truth of the matter dropped into Rosamund's brain like a stone into a pond. I am the main character in this woman's story. And her author looked peeved. Lady Rosamund Hawkhurst, Caroline said testily, you really need to calm down. The details regarding your trip to Ebrenia aren't that important. I was going to fill them in later. Rosamund sat back down on the bed. It's not that important that I'm taking a week-long trip to my homeland in a time of war? She knotted her hands in her lap, willing herself to patience. Caroline, I heard rumours that Queen Eudocia was considering a peace treaty with King Roland, so I came to offer my services as an envoy. A bold and risky move, said Caroline, as if this hadn't been her idea in the first place. But it makes perfect sense, seeing as... She produced a worn, leather-bound notebook from thin air and flipped it open to a page entitled Family Tree. While you live in Bavaria now, you're King Roland's sister-in-law, and originally from Ebrenia. And won't it be nice to see your little sister again? And call her Your Majesty? Yes, it'll be lovely to see Cat again, said Rosamund, ignoring the Your Majesty part. But the Queen has decided to send me to Ebrenia with a declaration of truce and one guard. Not even an attendant. Is she trying to enrage King Roland by putting me in mortal peril? Is Eudocia running mad? Is this a trap? Does she secretly hate me? Rosamund had not been a frequent visitor to either court in the years since her marriage. Neither she nor Hugo had been social butterflies, and court gossip was dull as ditch water. She'd never thought much of her absences from the mainstays of the social calendar, but perhaps it had offended the Bavarian crown in some way? Of course not. Caroline plopped down next to Rosamund on the bed. But you have to understand, she couldn't send you with a maidservant and an entire contingent of guards. That's not how the trope works at all. She slanted a sly smile at her heroine. This is an enemies to lovers story. You and your hot enemy have to be alone together, in close quarters, dependent on each other, building trust and covertly eyeing each other and trading heated barbs and... She flapped her hands, causing several stray scraps of paper to fall out of the notebook. It's just how these things work. Rosamund's mouth fell open. It's just not reasonable that I'm being sent with a single guard. Very single, Caroline interrupted. Your hot enemy is neither married nor involved with anyone else. Rosamund sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose between thumb and forefinger. No attendants at all? What about my maidservant Sally and my own guard from home? They accompanied me here. There's been a terrible bout of, highly contagious fever. Or maybe infectious. I'll have to check what the difference is. Most of the servants at the palace have caught it, including Sally and Jones, and those who haven't are being run off their feet. Caroline shrugged, still cheery. Your mission is too urgent to delay, so you and your hot enemy will just have to cope. Rosamund gave up arguing. For now. Does this hot enemy have a name? Captain Collins of the Queen's Guard. A first name? Caroline wrinkled her nose. Working on it? Rosamond nodded stiffly, took a deep breath, and stood up again. Fine. Alright, we will read some more later, but, you know, like, four pages seemed like a good start, and I have no room on this desk, so here we go. Let's see. Oh, YouTube just put a Joel Osteen commercial in the middle of the live. Well, I mean, yeah, it does that. It told me that it was going to put some ads in earlier, and I said, no, delay that. Or whatever it is. I'm gonna have some more cheese, hang on. I said, no, delay that, but anyway. The reading is over, for those of you, yeah. I hope that the people who don't want to hear it, who are rewatching this, are actually watching, because then they can just, every time I pick up the book, then they can be like, oh, don't want to know. Don't want to know. Jeez. I'm getting Sam and Alan Quantum Leap vibes. Yes, yeah. It's fun. Chris Hemsworth is Captain Collins. Yeah, well, the thing about Captain Collins is that he's so in the book he is blonde. Like he basically looks like, if I wanted to say Henry Cavill in The Witcher, but Henry Cavill in The Witcher's hair is white, I think, but like if Henry Cavill in The Witcher were blonde, kind of like that, but he doesn't have weird eyes. I mean, I suppose what he looks like is that guy they've got to replace Henry Cavill in The Witcher, but that poor lad, I feel really sorry for him. First of all, because they've given him this lovely blonde wig, and you know, he's a good-looking dude from the pictures that I've seen, I think, but he's just, you know, it just looks like you got Henry Cavill off Wish. That's what's going for it there, and so, you know, it doesn't even matter how good it is, because you're constantly going, oh, yeah. Anyway, here we are. I've already got to chapter 6 and trying to resist continuing, want it to last. Hang on, I need to check something. I'm not going to spoil you, don't worry, but let's see, where is chapter 7. Oh yeah, I got a message from a friend of mine who was like, I got to chapter 5, and I was like, did you? Gave me feelings. And I said, yes, well, look, if you don't have feelings in chapter 5, and you don't feel very sorry for Rosamond afterwards, then I have not done my job correctly. Did you cut out the main character interview audition? Yes, I did, because, spoiler, the administrator does not appear in the book at all, because basically I tried to write it with her in it, and it just makes Caroline look like she's got multiple personality disorder. Like it works in the shorts because you can kind of feel the meta, but Caroline as a real person can't have all of these other people running around in their head. There's a limit on how many people she can have. Like, if they're her characters that she's made up, that kind of, you accept that as the conceit. But if there's also like an entirely separate aspect of herself, which is solely dedicated to organizing her life, it didn't work very well. Which meant I had to do some rejigging, but it turned out funny, I think. Carrie always, will Leo have hair that flops? I don't know. I don't know about you, but I have to get my year 1 to school tomorrow and then go to work at a different school. That is very fair. I wish you good sleep. How invested will be people reading the book? I don't know. I mean, I hope you like it, but, you know, if you don't, then that's okay, because you can just watch the videos. It's not... Here we are. Are you on Twitter? No. My present to myself when I hit 100,000 subscribers in 2020, in like the September of 2020. I just put out my first video on the Princess Bride, and I hit 100,000 subscribers, and I was like, this is so exciting. I'm gonna do two things. I'm going to buy myself a sword. So that one, that is the sword that I bought. And I'm going to quit Twitter because wasn't even really posting. But every time I thought about Twitter, my blood pressure went up. And so I went, clearly this is just like not, you don't like it here. Why are you here? Why would you do that to yourself? Nah. Will this be up later? It should be, yes. But there we go. Administrator as Siri. I don't understand. Like the no, see, not the Apple person. You mean, no. Do you mean the Apple person, or do you mean like the one from The Witcher? You know, I bought The Witcher 3. Okay, please tell. All right, have any of you played The Witcher 3? If you have, please stick with me for the duration of this story and tell me that I am not an insane person, okay? Or maybe I am an insane person, but it's all right. All right. Here, I bought it on the Switch, and I was like, that's cool, because I like buttons. I don't do very well with the keyboard things. So that was fine. And I set it up, and it said, what difficulty level do you want? And I was like, normal, I guess? Okay, cool. And so I played it, and I played the tutorial bits, and I learned how to use the, you know, I tried to learn how to use the spells and things, and that was fine. And I learned how to, you know, the buttons for the sword and various different weapons and whatever, and I was doing all right. And we were going through, and we fought some wolves, and we did some quest things, and met some Nilfgaardians, and somebody had a frying pan. There was definitely something about a frying pan. I don't know. It was a little while ago. Anyway, the point was that I got to the first major fight with, where you have your mate who's like an older witcher, and you have to fight a big giant flying thing, like a griffin. Maybe a griffin. Anyway, you have to fight the griffin. I could not fight the griffin. I just kept dying basically instantly. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Am I supposed to be using the spells because I don't really know how to use those? Am I just not good enough yet, or do I need better weapons? I don't know. But I just got so sick of trying to fight this griffin. I was like, sod it. So either is it just that it's not is it just that the combat system is not intuitive, or is it just that I haven't played games in so long that I'm just not very good at it? You know. There we go. That's basically what I want to know. The cockatrice. Okay, sure. The griffin in White Orchard. Yeah, I think it's the griffin in White Orchard. Anyway, I'm going to wait for the answer now because obviously there is a time delay on these things. Okay. I'm so glad that it's not just me. Excellent. To the person who said, are you going to watch Argyle? I really want to watch it because I saw it and I went, this is about an author who writes things and then they turn out to be true, and then it's also got Henry Cavill in it. It's like, yep, it's not a super intuitive system. Okay, I feel better hearing someone say that. So there we go. I would lower the difficulty. That's fair. You know, I think the last game I had played before that was like Portal 2, which tells you probably something. Not that I haven't played Portal, you know, I've definitely played Portal 2 since it came out, as it were, like after that by several years, but you know. My boyfriend's been watching your fight scene movies in preparation for filming his movie. Oh, that's cool. Apple, Siri, or computer voice from Star Trek to interact with Caroline. Okay, that makes more sense. Anyway. It might be easier to play with an Xbox on a larger screen. No, I mean, I was playing it on the Switch, but I was playing it on my TV. I just couldn't, you know, I was just like... yeah. There we go. You're an Honor Harrington fan. Your view on the duel with Stadtholder Burdett, I love it. Like, it's very, it's brutal and effective. Like, he thinks that he's going into a fencing match, but she knows that she's going into a fight to the death, and so she's like, nope, not today. But here we are. Have you read any Mercedes Lackey? I feel like I have, but I don't know what. And also, I tend to get people mixed up. So I've read. Hang on. Yeah, see, so one of you will know this. I have read. Oh no, what's her name? Oh no. Okay, we're now going to do the Waterstones game. So one of my best friends at school. After she graduated from university, she got a job, like a temporary job, working at Waterstones, and she worked there for a while. And she said, people just come in and they go, it had a blue cover, and it turned out they were twins at the end. So I'm just going to tell you the plot of these books. No, I don't need to. Harris Serrano. There we go. I have been reading the Harris Serrano books. I think those are Elizabeth Moon, but I don't know. Anyway, they're really good, by the way, if you like sci-fi and stuff. And also just if you like Honor Harrington, then you probably like Harris Serrano because she's very fun. And also there are horses. It's like somebody went, hey, we would like space and also horses, and like, so that was fun. In the same way that the Liaden universe is like, we like Pride and Prejudice and space, so we're just gonna. Oh, and also magic. So like space, magic, and Pride and Prejudice. Just gonna like smush all those together, and there you are. So those are really good. I hit all my cheese. Thank you, Harris Serrano's Elizabeth Moon. Okay, cool. Valdemar companions. No, I don't. Space horses. What's the name of Space Horses? Harris Serrano. As in Heris, new word, Serrano. What's weird about it is that I have the sort of 3 collected stories copy. I say it belongs to my husband, but he was like, he put it on the shelf in hopes that I would read it. I was like, no, I think this is this would be your jam. And then I read it and was like, yes, you were correct again. This was in fact my jam. But yeah, so there's this woman on the cover in like a space marine kind of suit and carrying a laser gun or whatever it is, and I'm like, that's not Harris Serrano though, so I want to know who it is. Is it like the other main character? And if so, why is she in a space marine suit and carrying a laser gun? I'm very confused by that, because Harris Serrano is very clearly described, and she's not a ginger. She's not like a pale ginger. And so I'm like, it is one of those who is that on the book cover kind of deals. But there we are. Do you plan on writing a sequel? I do not. Never say never, right? But first of all, it was very difficult writing the first one, and second of all, once I finished writing the first one, I was like, oh, okay, great. Good. Everyone's like, do you have ideas for another series? I'm like, no, everything is gone now. Everything is gone because I put it all on the page. In the same way that you write a to-do list and then you don't have to keep it in your head, I wrote a book. And then I was like, great, that was what I wanted to do with that. I think that turned out reasonably well. Cool. You can ask me to do it again, but I don't think I can, because I don't have another like full story to tell with them, Also love Lois McMaster Bujold's Vorkosigan books. Yeah, see, people keep telling me about those, and I really do need to read them. The War God's Own series. I have that on my I think it's a Kobo. Yes. Anyway. Trading in Danger. Actually, I've read one of those. By Classic Lover. I have read Trading in Danger because it was in the library, and then I was like, this is pretty good. I should read another one of those, but then they didn't have any more in the library, so this isn't the cheese making tutorial. I The Amazon ebooks don't release until the 5th, by the way, because that is the official release date. But the paperbacks on Amazon either had to be early or late, because I put them up on Ingram Spark before I put them on Amazon. This was a mistake. I should have scheduled it on Amazon and then put it up on Ingram Spark, because Amazon was like, no, this already exists, so you can't schedule this book. You have to hit publish, and then we have to go through and approve it in our own time, and then we'll just randomly put it up. And so I hit publish on Thursday night, because that would mean that by now it would publish, because it's like, it can take up to 72 hours. Like, okay, cool. As it turned out, it only took about 30, and so it went up like a day early on Amazon. But the reason that people are getting their books early is either because they live in different time zones, I think, or because they pre-ordered, and the pre-orders are just being shipped early, which is, is cool. It's good to get things. Where did you learn to stage fight? So I learned to stage fight various places, but with originally the APC, which is the Academy of Performance Combat, and then later on ACTT, which is Actors Combat Theatrical Training, which are two different exam boards for learning to fight on stage, because that is a thing you can be certified in. And they used to do a course, they did a course in 2018, and for a few years before that, and for a couple of years after that, at Sir Roger Manwood School. They don't run it there anymore. It's now somewhere else. I think the Malthouse Theatre in Canterbury. But Sir Roger Manwood School is a boarding school in Sandwich, but obviously the kids aren't there in the summer, so they used to hire it out to people, and you stayed in the dormitories, and you spent a week there, and you learned to stage fight, like you did an intensive course where you did 3 different exams. And that was the first place I learned to stage fight. I did an intensive course, and I did all of my basic or standard level exams, and then they were like, you're pretty good, yeah. You should keep doing this. So I did. And so I just kind of kept on doing it. It releases at midnight on the 5th. I don't know is the answer to the question. I think if you are in the UK, you're definitely going to get it in 53 minutes. If you are not in the UK, if you're in the US, you should. Like, it makes sense that you would get it at the same time as all of the people in the UK, because that is the official release time. It's in 53 minutes, but I honestly don't know. I don't know how Amazon does these things. You may have to wait. UK told me the other day it would arrive quicker if I cancelled my pre-order and bought it normally and not as a pre-order. There you go. That may well be the case in some places. Level in mayhem. Anyway, will your book be available on Audible? I assume so. Yeah, I don't really know anything about audiobooks, because that was future Jill's problem. And frankly, it's still future Jill's problem, because present Jill has not actually moved house yet, so and has therefore not recorded the audiobook yet, and has therefore not had to think about audiobook things yet, especially because this book hasn't actually officially come out yet, even though people are getting theirs and reading them, and that is excellent. Officially, we've still got 52 minutes to go. Gotta go. Night, Dorian. He has had his book for ages, because I sent him like his own copy. He was like, can I have one? I'm like, sure. I have a box of them, as long as you don't mind it being slightly wavy, because I ordered a box of them and they turned up and they were not good, and then I had to get replacement ones. Anyway, that is what happens. Anyway, you have children. How do you find the time to do all of this? It's my literal job. Yeah, that is basically how. So I am a full-time YouTube content creator, and then for the last year I have been a, as much as I can YouTube content creator while also writing this book. And the reason that I have not, I have been able to do that is because of Patreon and because of YouTube channel memberships. Like, because there were people consistently giving me, everybody gives me a small amount of money every month, which means that I have enough money to, pay my bills while I write books. And if I don't make a lot of videos, or if I only make short videos, which don't really make any money, and I don't make a lot of income from YouTube for a 6 or 8 month period, which is precisely what happened, then it's okay. And now that the book has been published, very nearly 50 minutes, I can go back to doing my actual job of making YouTube videos, which is great. And at some point I will actually get paid for all of the books that people have bought. But as far as I can tell, that will either be at the end of April or maybe in May. I'm not sure. So like, how did you find the transition to YouTube? Pretty good. Like, I had been doing lots of YouTube videos, and then I had also been working not quite like 32 on a 32-hour contract or something like that. And I was just, you know, when you just can't anymore. I was like, something has got to give. And so I met up with a friend of mine who was a full-time YouTuber and at VidCon, and my friend said, okay, I'm looking at your statistics, and like, if you publish consistently or more consistently, if you can make 2 videos a month and they are this and that, you know, I think you can get traction, and I think you can make enough. And if you know, promote your Patreon and stuff, I think you can make enough, depending on what your financial runway is, how many months do you have before you have to start making this pay. I think you could make this a full-time thing if you wanted to. And I had basically been thinking, I need to quit my job because it is very, very exhausting and my chronic fatigue is not keeping up. And I need to find something where I can work fewer hours. And he was like, well, you could just, you know, you could do the YouTube thing. If, you know, maybe. Possibly. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give that a go. That was February 2020. And I told my job, I'm leaving at the beginning of the new tax year because that makes it like simple to do maths. And they were like, that's cool. I mean, we will be sad to lose you, but you know, going and making YouTube videos, that's great. And then there was the small matter of that whole, you know, global pandemic thing. And I went, okay, this was either the worst ever time to become a full-time content creator or a really good time. And it worked out. It worked out. So that was a good thing. Anyway, just refreshed my Kindle library. Oh no, I think somebody got their book and they're in Germany. So that's good. Will you be able to download the audiobook as a playable file or is it only for streaming services? No, I absolutely hate, listen, this is a strange thing for a person who relies heavily on Patreon to say, but for the most part, I really, really hate subscription things. I hate subscription things. Just a lot. So like, we have Netflix, but that's because it comes as like part of something else. I would not, you know, I would not otherwise give them money every month. And so I don't give them money every month. Somebody else gives them money. You get what I mean. Like YouTube subscriptions are great because they're free, but I don't like things where you have to pay every month. That feels like too much commitment for me. I'm like, I already have to pay my mortgage every month. You know, I already have to pay my electricity bill and gas and stuff. So I don't like streaming things. I don't have Spotify or Disney Plus or whatever. So at the very least, I will make the entire thing available on Patreon, and so you can be like, I sign up as a $10 patron, and then I download the audiobook, and then I cancel my Patreon. So what I did for the ebook was you could sign up as a $10 patron and get the ebook, and then I was like, you can just cancel your membership right afterwards. It's fine. I don't mind. But that was like a way to get the arc without having to, you know, faff about, basically. Anyway, so yes, it will be available other places than streaming services, if only on principle, because I don't like streaming services. I don't see why you should have to like them either. A commercial in mid-sentence. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. Goodbye to the people who are leaving now. Fair warning for US Amazon customers, they're a little slow on ebook pre-orders. Don't fear if it doesn't come quite at midnight. That is comforting to know that, you know, you haven't been forgotten about if it doesn't work out. Did I? Yeah, I did. Okay. Sorry, I saw things at the top and I was like, did I see those? What, you didn't come here to watch ads? Who wants to see actual content? Yeah, exactly. Are Rosalind's kids based on yours at all? No. Like, Rosamond, I'm doing it now. Rosamond has a 15-year-old boy and an 11-year-old girl, and I have neither of those. If the stream keeps going on, the people left will be Isles writers and hardcore fans. I mean, yeah, but also, like, Americans. I mean, what time is it in the US right now? I mean, it's obviously, like, 3 different times because of all your time zones, but, you know, I'm just saying. It's the afternoon for them, so, My book is 2 stops away. Oh, that's cool. Back to work. It's, yeah. You don't have to stay for 24 hours to this, do you? No, I am not going to do that. I'm only staying up until midnight, and then I'm going to sleep. And it's going to be good, but I'm going to, you know, we're going to read a bit more in a minute. So it's all good. Everyone is now telling me what time it is with them in America. Cool. A couple of people, it's like after midnight already. I'm not going to tell you guys that you should go to sleep, but I am going to say that if you need to go to sleep, you know, you can just watch this later. I'm just saying. Because it is, you know, it is 11:15 in the UK, and I'm staying up, but I got to take a nap today, and you might not have, so I'm just saying. Will you still be posting YouTube series about the book now? No. Like, I might do, I have, like, one short written, but I don't have any more, basically I have no more plot, so, I might post the odd thing with Caroline and Rosamond, but no, probably not. Unless I suddenly have another idea for another series of things. Right. Okay. It's time for cheese. I ate all my cheese, which is probably for the best because, you know, again, you don't really want weird chewing noises on you now. Let us do a little bit more from where we left off. So, oh no, she's getting out the book. Everybody dive for cover. Let's see. Queen's Guard. Fine. She could survive this. She could facilitate peace and end the war. She could get home to Edmund and Charlotte without being killed by the dangers of the road or Captain whatever his name was, Collins. If she was careful, if she was wise, and if she gave Caroline enough of the things she wanted. Then let us continue. Caroline beamed. Great! Time to crack on with the preparation scene. She consulted a list on another page of the notebook. Oh, one quick note. You are planning to pack either a knife or an ornately decorated dagger, yes? Of course I'm planning to pack a knife, Rosamond replied, befuddled, as if she'd go anywhere without one. Caroline marked an item on her checklist with an ostentatious tick. To threaten your hot enemy in the middle of the night? Rosamond rolled her eyes. The knife is for eating. She gave Caroline a flat look. Though I suppose I could stab someone with it if sufficiently motivated. Caroline either didn't notice the threat or ignored it, instead scribbling something on another page of her book. Indeed, Rosamond's author seemed to have a talent for ignoring things that didn't fit in with her bizarre and often cliched plans. Take this hot enemy business, for example. Caroline seemed to be under the impression that the fantasy story she had placed Rosamond in was some kind of romance. Truthfully, Rosamond should have known something was amiss from their very first meeting. It had taken place in a Spartan white-walled room where Caroline willed Rosamond into being and then started criticising her appearance. Why do you look like me? And why are you so old? I'm 36, Rosamond had retorted, bewildered by this strange, bespectacled goddess who had complete power over her existence while remaining maddeningly vague on details. Yes, I see. Can you handle a sword? Yes? What kind? Caroline. You know, a sword. Pointy end goes in the other man, weighs about... Caroline frowned. 4.5 kilos? Rosamond wasn't sure what system of measurement her world used, but she was very sure that that wasn't a reasonable weight for a sword by any standard. But Caroline was uninterested in specifics unless they related to the multiple attractive men she was planning to introduce, men whose attention Rosamond was supposed to both desire and agonize over. Love triangles are perennially popular for a reason, Rosamond. Rosamond, whose grief for Hugo still caught her by surprise at odd moments, was not impressed by this, especially now that she was preparing to embark on a dangerous mission. The reason she had come to the palace had nothing to do with romance and everything to do with the safety of her children, children of a wonderful marriage to an irreplaceable man. But it was no use trying to make this point to Caroline. "I assume that you're packing travelling clothes?" Caroline inquired, making another note. "Yes." "And your most beautiful gown?" Rosamond's eyes drifted to the saddlebags and the items jumbled atop them. Before she left the Hawkhurst estate 5 days ago, she had packed 2 court-appropriate changes of clothing, the green velvet underdress and surcoat she was currently wearing, and another dress, the details of which currently escaped her. Caroline still bent over the notebook, folded over the corner of a page, and scribbled something that Rosamond interpreted as wobbly dress? "I haven't made my mind up about your other gown yet," Caroline said, snapping the book shut and looking up, "but I'm making a note that you're packing it." Rosamond pressed her fingers to her temples. She felt a headache coming on. "Lovely. Could you please leave me in peace to finish this?" Caroline faded out of view, and Rosamond forgot that the other woman had ever been there. But she remembered that her green knife was in the 3rd drawer. Anyway, we shall do a little more later, but it's 1:20 a.m. and we should go to sleep. Yes. Why is it coming out on a Monday rather than a Tuesday? Why would it come out on a Tuesday? It's coming out Monday. Mondays are good days. Is there a reason that books come out on Tuesdays? I do not know. Amazon lets you do any day you want, so that's basically why. Where is your giant mug from Livestreams Past? It is currently off screen. I'm trying, not to have recourse to it, and I have been talking for quite a while, and I'm doing okay, so that's pretty good. Jill, are you mentally prepared for more M-rated fanfic? First of all, I don't, there is no obligation for me to read it, and second of all, I have been on the internet for a long time. People have written M-rated fanfiction about me, not my characters, me. So once that's happened to you, you're sort of it doesn't, meh. Your brain has to kind of adjust that sort of thing exists in the world, and you're just I'd rather it didn't, but here we are, and nobody's dying of it, so it's fine. Anyway, DVD traditionally came out on Tuesdays. I have to go to sleep. That is fair. That's fair. Strict on sale date in the US is usually Tuesday. There you go. Music's traditionally released on Tuesdays. There you go. Okay, that's disturbing. Yeah, but also, I suppose it's a bit I had my baby in Germany, and my midwife was a lovely German lady who's also spoke excellent English, which was fantastic, because the last thing you need is someone explaining complicated concepts to you while you're in a lot of pain in a language that you're not really very good at. But she had been a midwife in several different African countries. She had trained in Germany, and then she'd gone to several different African countries, and then she had come back, and so she was even more unflappable than the norm, I think, because literally nothing fazed her. She was we're 5 minutes down the road from a hospital. Everything's gonna be fine. I can't remember, it's sort of, basically your brain goes, well, and then everything else is just it's not that though, is it? Therefore, it's not as bad. Oh dear. Trucks have to deliver on Monday, so they get on the shelves on Tuesday morning. That would explain why people are getting their books beforehand, I guess, because they're sending them out before that. But there isn't an embargo or anything. We're not, this isn't release night for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire or something, which is the first one that had a really mad release date, right? And everybody was trying to steal the book or something. I'm just saying, we're not, we haven't reached international levels of hype where people would try and steal the manuscript or whatever, especially because it's already on Patreon. It's like, you don't need to steal the manuscript. You can just pay $10 and you get a copy for free. Well, not for free, for $10. You know what I mean. Does your child have dual citizenship? So here is an interesting fact. That was at least true when I was there. You had to either live in Germany for a certain amount of time to get citizenship, or your parents have to have lived there for a certain amount of time. Especially if they are not citizens of the country, if you see what I mean. Like if your parents are sort of temporarily staying there, which we were my husband was on like a 3-year contract. Then yeah, thankfully, I have 2 kinds of citizenship that I could pass on. Otherwise, there would have been a heck of a lot of paperwork. I mean, there was quite a lot of paperwork anyway, but there would have been even more. My Goblet of Fire was in Asda, and I had read most of it by the time I purchased it. There you go. Something like sure is probably one. I was accidentally able to buy it before Christmas. That's fair. So there was somebody, I don't know if this is you, but there was somebody who ordered it as part of a sale, and then the shop was like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry that we got this, we're not going to be able to get this to you on time, and gave them like a gift card as an apology. And the person was like, no, it's not coming out until February, but thanks, I guess. So somebody made money on the book, who wasn't me. So that was cool. I'm an American born in Saudi. Their citizenship is really complicated and I'm just American. You know what? That's fair. Ghostwriter for the sequel, like James Patterson. I assume that James Patterson is not in fact a ghostwriter, but someone who has ghostwriters. But like, I have no particular incentive to have someone else write it, particularly because like, I mean, I think, I could be wrong about this, but I think that when someone works with a ghostwriter, like say when Millie Bobby Brown did her book thing and she had a ghostwriter, they come with like an idea, and then the ghostwriter, they go, the story is about this, and it's set in this time period, and these are the characters, and da-da-da, and this is the story, this is the plot, and what happens in it, and then the ghostwriter, sort of writes it, but that requires there to be a story in the first place. You know what I mean? Also, I feel like it would be in this not in quite the same way. You could definitely find someone who could write in the same way that I do, but the way that I write is very much in the same way that I speak, because that is the tone that you need for the book, right? So the tone that you need for the book is the same tone that you had in the shorts, and so you have to be able to hear my voice in your head while you're reading it, otherwise it doesn't really work as well. So that's not, obviously it's not going to be impossible for, I'm not so very special and unique that someone couldn't copy that, but I think it would be tricky. Need to sleep. That is very fair. You should definitely do that. Sending loving wishes from Lithuania. Thank you. I got my book yesterday. I finished 4 chapters. I'm loving it. Wonderful. I have been to Lithuania once. It was really nice. I went to a convention. I went to Lituanicon in, I don't remember what year that was. I can work this out. 2019? Maybe? I'm going to go with 2019 because I then... I was there for like 3 days, and they had HEMA people, and so I had a little go on the HEMA stuff after I gave my talk, and I got hit very hard on the leg, which was not great, because then I came home and I arrived home at like 11 o'clock at night. I got off the plane, I got on the bus or whatever, I got into my house. The boiler was not working for some reason. That was a bit weird. But then it was like 11 o'clock at night, and I had to get up at 6:30 the next morning to go and do a stage combat course. So that was a very busy week. But Lithuania is lovely and very beautiful, and also like I walked around Vilnius, like, constantly making the joke, if it's not Baroque, don't fix it, because, everything's just like all the buildings are just very pretty. You know, it's nice. Where were we? I just got your book today. Amazon delivered it early. Amazing. Which just sound like in your head, think Monty Python but a woman. I hope you're only listening. Yes. I like to listen to live streams while I'm doing things that are otherwise extremely, boring, like cleaning. So in case any of you are, for the benefit of future people or who are listening to this on the replay because they're cleaning something and they don't really want to, are you still doing that? Was there a thing that you were supposed to be doing that you're not doing? And should you go do that? I'm just throwing that out there. Okay. Are you familiar with Elizabeth Wheatley? Yes, we were talking about her earlier on in the stream, actually, because people were saying that inevitably, when some people ordered my book, they were like, hey, do you want to read Dangerous Thing? Because she is also someone who makes a TikTok series, which is also on YouTube, which is sort of meta. Congratulations, thank you. Order play for 2 placed on Amazon, delivery Thursday the 8th. Amazing. There are about 10 things I should have been doing. I'm playing Merge Dragons. Fair enough. Watching a live stream is weird. I usually watch YouTube at 2 times speed. I also watch everything at 2 times speed. Well, I consider it really strange if it has to drop below like 1.75, because otherwise it's just unbearable. Honestly, not everything. Some things I can listen to at 1 time speed and it's fine, but quite a lot of things I'm like, nope, I would like you to deliver the information to my brain faster, please. Thank you very much. Seen several people suggest a collab with Chad, but I don't think your content really overlaps. I mean, we did I asked him to be in a short that I did, which got like 2 million views. But, he does live on the other side of the world, so that does make, like, in-person collabing a bit tricky. Have you read The Practical Guide to Evil? I have not. It's good. I am knitting. Fair. Yeah, 1.7 times and 2 times speed are so useful. See, I remember someone saying to me once, I don't understand why you would do that. Like, why would you want to speed it up? I'm like, because I'm impatient. I don't know. Like, but they've put together this thing for you that's beautiful and wonderful. I'm like, no, but I mostly watch, I watch a lot of educational content and I watch a lot of people decluttering things. Or talking about getting rid of stuff. I find this very useful when I am trying to, especially now to prepare for moving, because the moving guys came over and they said, yes, what we need to do is we can fit it all into 1 truck. I think we don't have to like bring 2. And I said, okay. But I take that as a definite challenge to try and reduce. I can't reduce the number of pieces of furniture because we need those. But I can definitely try and reduce the sort of level of inventory of other things and consolidate boxes. So, here we are. I am doing bad painting. Cool. Jill has the neurospicy. I don't really know what that means. But if you're diagnosing me with ADHD again, like, I don't have ADHD, like, because, and the reason I say this, and I say it with love, is because people, tell me that I have it. People on the internet specifically. No one in real life has ever said to me, you have ADHD, because when you meet me in person, it's not the same as meeting me on the internet. But like, people on the internet like to say, you and I have this trait in common and therefore you must have ADHD. I'm like, no, but I don't though. I don't. Like, not that you don't, like, I'm not disbelieving that you have ADHD, but I don't. I am a bit weird, but that's not the same thing. Like, obviously these things can overlap, but, you know, yeah. Sorry, like, the sort of 1000th time that someone tells you that you have a thing that you don't have is, you're just like, no. But no, though. Anyway, this is, you know, this is not a dig, as they say. Neurospicy is a deliberately vague term. Well, that's fair enough. If it means nothing, then that's okay. Author C.M. Alonji has a TikTok series as well. Cafe Latte. Just okay. I don't know what that. Everybody is a bit weird on the internet. Like, genuinely, on the internet, nobody knows your dog. And this is particularly true of YouTube comments. Like, I have had conversations with people in my YouTube comment section, and I have got like 3 comments deep with someone, and I have gone, this is a bot. This is a bot. This isn't a real person that I'm talking to. This is not a human talking to me. This is a bot which is trying to, like, get engagement. And it's absolutely wild. You look at it and you're like, that's so weird. That's so weird. I remember the first time that I ran into a bot was on, like, Tumblr, and its thing was that it would message people and pretend like pretend that it was a teenager in a different time zone, and who was having some problems with something, or like a really specific thing that would, like, get, you know, Tumblr people riled up, and so that they would send the bot money, I guess. I had multiple teachers demand something was wrong, quote, wrong with me, but 4 specialists found nothing. I'm sorry, that sounds very frustrating. But the bots are learning. Did the bot have better conversation? Yeah, like, it was just, you know when you sort of get that feeling that something's not quite right? Oh no, I've been discovered. Yeah. What's Caroline's middle name? It's Sarah, which is not mentioned in the books at all. Henry's, and this is also not mentioned in the books. So his middle name is Benjamin, and so he's HB Walker, like the pencil. And there was a joke which I didn't find a place to put in, which I was very sad about, which was, like, Caroline and Henry talking to each other, where she's like, wait, the B stands for Benjamin, and then he's like, what did you think it stood for? And she's like, I really wouldn't like to say. I was sad I did not find a place for that joke, but now I've told it to you. What if Jill's actually a bot? Bots have better hair, you know, I'm just saying. They have, you know, more controllable, their hair is more manageable, I reckon. Getting inside scoops with the middle name. Rosamund's middle name is Stabby. Yeah, you know what it probably is. I don't think Rosamund actually has a middle name. She, you know, they don't particularly do those in Abrinia, as it turns out. What is this stream for? You know what? That is always a good question. I had someone ask me when I did a previous live stream. They were like, I was like, I'm going to be streaming. Yeah. And somebody put a comment where they went, so what is the stream about? And I was like, what do you mean about? We just turn up and then we talk about stuff? I don't really know what you mean with this about stuff. You know, sometimes I do streams which have technically a point, but there we go. But yes. What's the paperback font size? Absolutely no idea, and it probably wouldn't mean anything to you anyway, because it's, you know, like, okay, but it's this big. If you think that font sizes will be a problem for you, then the ebook is definitely the way to go, because it does have it does have the formatting. How much of the formatting depends on which ebook platform you're on. Kobo is the literal worst, by the way, for that. It just doesn't like things. But here we go. But The ebook obviously will have, you know, you can make the text as big as you like, which is great. Is it ironic that I'm wearing your Just Happy Now hoodie completely unplanned? Yes. Standard 10 to 12 point font. That seems likely. Yeah. Because I... Jeez, people keep saying my name. Welcome to the stream. Are you sure Caroline's middle name isn't Staples? Like her I don't think her parents would have been that cruel, you know. Like Caroline's mother, you know, would probably not have been that cruel. I'm just saying. Anyway, right. It is 20 minutes to go, and I want to, you know, get a few more pages done. So let's go back to Caroline, because Rosamond is packing for her trip, but we're going back to Caroline. Caroline Staples Lewis. Anyway, Caroline Lindley was rather enjoying her new story. It did require an awful lot of internet research about subjects ranging from the difference between woods and forests to the probable weight of a sword, but she had to admit it was creatively refreshing. Definitely better than attending useless meetings and serving as wildly overqualified tech support for CrossGuard Solutions' chief finance officer. Database administration, Caroline's actual job, lagged a distant third behind doodling in her notebook while her colleagues debated minutiae and, more recently, playing the part of George Radley's pet IT monkey. So, for the past few years, Caroline had turned to writing fan fiction, slotting characters from large movie franchises into coffee shop romances. This had garnered her a small but enthusiastic audience who had subsequently demanded the stories as actual books. That endeavour had required a number of name changes and the alteration of the more obvious parallels, but it wasn't a great deal more work. It had even made her a little bit of money, especially once she'd found an editor to help smooth the rough edges. Then her fifth coffee shop romance had achieved popularity, or at least popularity, or to be more accurate, popularity on a certain section of social media. This had meant what felt like every single internet denizen suddenly had opinions, but they hadn't been great for Caroline's self-esteem. She didn't consider herself the world's best writer by any means, but the acidity of a few of those reviews had left a mark. After a particularly well-known commenter had opined, "One wonders what C.S. Lindley would do if she didn't have ready-made characters with which to populate her tedious modern romances." Caroline decided she'd had quite enough of people besmirching her abilities. She was going to write something original. She had called her usual editor and told him so, omitting the part where she was about to create an entire work of fiction out of spite. She also expressed at some considerable length her frustrations with her current book series and half-threatened to end it in a spectacular fashion. Henry Walker, who had been working for her on a freelance basis since her second self-published book, wasn't impressed. "Your Moonbeans coffee shop series actually sells, Caroline. It would be a terrible business decision to kill off half the characters and close the place down in the next book just because you're a bit sick of it right now." He paused, mouth set, and the image of his face was still for long enough that Caroline checked the Wi-Fi strength in the corner of her laptop screen. The tiny cafe she wrote in at lunchtimes was not known for its connection speed. Henry's face fast-forwarded into his next remark. "Also, calling it lethal flat white might get you into legal trouble." She scowled into the camera at him, and he gave her a sympathetic half-smile, pushing his hair out of his face. His stupid, thick, wavy blonde hair that always falls perfectly, and Caroline realised that she was staring. She blinked and resumed scowling. She really did not want to go there. It was embarrassing enough to have a crush on someone who technically worked for her. She didn't need him noticing. He was still talking. Caroline tried to pay attention. "Good idea for you to take a break from the series and write something completely different," Henry said, "even if it is just an experiment." Caroline sighed, more relieved than was really appropriate. "Yes, but I've never written fantasy before, so if you're willing to do a bit of extra hand-holding on this manuscript, I'd appreciate it." She felt her face heating up and rushed on. "I know it's not your usual way of working, but I'm sure we can—" "Not a problem," he said. But then Caroline's laptop had pinged. "George Radley has sent you a message," and she'd had to go. Henry's support of the project notwithstanding, the germ of an idea for a fantasy romance had brought with it Lady Rosamond Hawkhurst, and from the start, Caroline had sensed that she wasn't going to be a cooperative character. Rosamond was positively ancient compared to Caroline's usual parade of late teen and 20-somethings. She seemed to have very Henry-like opinions on the appropriate kind of sword to use, and she came complete with 2 living children and 1 dead husband. The hot enemy, Captain Collins, would probably be a little easier to work with, and Caroline had a charming character she'd originally been working on for a different story to cast as the hot childhood best friend, but Rosamond was clearly trouble. And yet Henry had seemed keen on the idea. That counted for something. An alarm sounded on her phone, and Caroline pulled herself back to the present, swept the lid of her laptop closed, and shoved it into her bag. She had to leave now if she wanted to catch the early bus to work. Maybe she could cram in a little extra writing on the journey, and maybe in her office before the day officially started. But one thing at a time. Henry is from Yorkshire, and I'm so glad that you know that. Because my range of available accents is not good, and that one is the worst one, so, trouble is Rosamond's middle name. Yes. Anyway. Across the table of the palace dining hall, Robin Waverley surveyed his oldest friend, and worried. Rosamond had appeared at court for the first time in years the previous evening, without so much as a messenger bird to precede her arrival. This morning she had waited in silence among her peers for 3 hours until the Queen had called upon her for a private audience. She had spoken to Robin in passing upon her return to the Great Hall, but not since. Now they were at table in Queen Eudocia's uncharacteristically quiet banqueting hall. The fever had taken its toll on nobles and commoners alike, and though she was smiling and nodding as her immediate neighbours spoke to her, the dark smudges under her eyes and the stiffness of her posture made his stomach turn. Was she sick? Or was something else going on? Robin wasn't surprised when Rosamond left dinner early, but staying to hear the end of Countess Linivar's long-winded tale of border skirmishes meant it took him a few moments to follow suit. He caught up with Rosamond as she exited the hall, snagging her arm at the base of the sweeping staircase that led up towards the guest quarters. She didn't quite jump when he touched her, but she did relax when she saw who it was. "Rosie," Robin said, trying to keep his voice light, "may I be so bold as to say it's wonderful to see you?" "It's been half a year since you last saw me," said Rosamond, so that would be an appropriate comment. She'd written to him a few times, but it was true, Robin realised with chagrin. He'd only seen her twice, and that briefly, since Hugo's body had been committed to the flames. At the funeral she had moved through the crowds like a ghost, bowing, making small talk, attempting to smile, and her current manner retained that distant, careful quality, even now they were alone. The crease in Robin's brow deepened. He had not anticipated the degree to which grief still shadowed her. A Bavarian himself, Robin had attended boarding school with Rosamond in the neighbouring country of Coulter. Both the school and the country had retained absolute neutrality, regardless of which sovereign states went to war, over what, and with whom, ensuring that Coulter itself was never the object of hostilities. Robin missed the simplicity and quiet of that country sometimes, but hope sprang eternal that he could go back one day. Rosamond, as the eldest daughter of Abrenian paper merchants who had bought their patents of nobility, had retained absolute unconcern with the dictates of politics or status. They'd become fast friends, keeping up a correspondence even after they went their separate ways. Robin had been delighted when Rosamond married Sir Hugo Hawkhurst as part of the previous Abrenian-Bavarian peace agreement. This had brought her to the Hawkhurst estate in northeastern Bavaria, and for much of their 20s they'd seen each other fairly regularly. Robin had been particularly pleased to see how well Rosie and Hugo got on, and took special pleasure in regaling Sir Hugo with stories of Lady Hawkhurst's school days. But then the realities of Robin's own private obligations intervened, and he had visited less often than he should have, especially since Hugo's death last year. And both of the times Robin had seen Rosamond since the funeral, he had been on official business, hurrying off again as quickly as he had arrived. A pang of guilt twisted in his stomach. He should have written more. "May I also mention that it's less than wonderful to see you looking so ill?" Rosamond raised an eyebrow. "Such flattery," she retorted, but there was a hint of a smile on her face. "You look like you ran here all the way from the Hawkhurst estate," Robin ventured, and Rosamond shrugged. "I was in a hurry." "Why?" Rosamond stopped at the top of the stairs and leaned on the banister. "Robin, I know you don't enjoy politics," if only she knew, "but with King Adelric's death and King Roland's coronation, there's been a definite shift in military deployments on both sides. The knight who sought Hawkhurst's hospitality 2 weeks ago told us that Roland seems to be taking a less aggressive posture, and we know his farms will be suffering as much as ours in this drought. He needs labourers, not soldiers. I came to see if I could get the Queen to... I came to see if I could be of any assistance to Her Majesty. She pushed herself upright again and started to walk away, but Robin matched her pace. I'm sure you're very helpful, he offered, after a short silence. Rosamond gave him a wry smile, though the set of her shoulders belied it. I am a model of helpfulness, but also a dire warning as to why one shouldn't skimp on sleep when travelling. Good evening, Robin. And before he could think of a reason to detain her further, she reached the door to her rooms and disappeared. Robin frowned. That Rosamond had come all the way to court after years of absence was a clear sign that something was amiss at Hawkhurst. Both Abrinia and Bavaria strenuously insisted that the resumption of hostilities was the other side's fault, but regardless of how the conflict had started, it had dragged on for more than 2 years. Casualties were mounting, and Rosamond was right. The lack of rain was now affecting harvest on both sides of the Granalla River, making a bad situation worse. As an estate near the border, Hawkhurst had been expected to provide more than its fair share of manpower and resources. Perhaps that was why she had come. Perhaps he should urge Queen Eudocia to consider a peace treaty. Perhaps he should have done a lot of things. That was excellent, Robin. Well done, said Caroline, and Robin started as the world froze around him. Very supportive, but also just a little ambiguous. Perfect for the hot childhood best friend role. I knew I could count on you. Robin decided to say nothing, though in a book not written by Caroline, he might have had more words to choose from. The author had some bizarre ideas about what he should be doing, including pining over his widowed best friend, apparently, and he wasn't sure what to make of it yet. He had a feeling he'd have fit better in the merchant-sailor/nobleman romance for which she'd originally created him, but the author's word was law. At least, most of the time. Hello, Steph. One of my editors is in the chat, like my main line and copy editor and also keeper of me sane during the last, 6 months of my life. Hi, Steph. It's nice to see you. And I'm glad you like this section, you know. I hope you like most of the sections, at least. Politics affecting protagonists, tropes I will not touch. She's reading her entire book. We're in luck. No, you only have 8 minutes left, so, you know, you're probably not getting any more than that, because that was in 3 parts, which I will probably have to put the timestamps on at some point. The whole of chapter 1. Will Sir Submersa be doing a book review? That would be 4 levels of meta. Oh dear. Yeah, so I had 3 different people who did editing support. So the first person was after I had written the first draft, where I went, I know someone who is an editor who I know because she's been a patron of mine for a while and we have talked about this previously. And so her name is Annie Persick. And I emailed her and was like, Annie, help, please. I don't know what the thing, help with the thing, please. And she was like, okay, chill, don't worry about it. It's all fine. And so she did a developmental edit for me, which meant that by the time the next person got it, and then Steph got it after that, it was, you know, significantly better because she said a whole bunch of things, but the thing that I remember most distinctly, because it was the thing I had to do the most work on, was the politics don't make any sense. Or rather, the politics are really confusing, and they need to be less confusing. And I was like, you are absolutely correct. So that was the thing. Anyway, and then after that, I had, when I did all of the editor things, there were three people who sent in editing applications, and I went, ooh. So one of them, I don't remember her name, but she was like, it would take me several months to do this because I have a new baby. And I was like, fair enough, that's too long, but I wanted you to know that, you know, I thought you really enjoyed your work. And then there was one other person who was Isabella Woods, and I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna go with Steph because I like that one slightly better, but I really like your take on things. So could you just, if I give you it and give you a week and give you some money, you know, as a sort of value exchange thing, like you have 10 days, tell me things, and I will, you know, like tell me obvious things that jump out at you, that I have possibly still not fixed, and then that it will be as good as I can make it before it gets to Steph, and she does the very in-depth whole thing. So she did. And from Bella I learned, and I changed a bunch of other things, but from Bella specifically I learned that birds don't have a sense of smell, or like they don't have a really good sense of smell. Which I didn't know, because originally I had something to do with like, I think it was something to do with the Caladrius and their sense of smell. She was like, most birds don't really have a very good sense of smell. I mean, they're magic birds, so it doesn't really matter, but I was like, no, I can change that, it doesn't really. And then Steph, because Steph did 2 full rounds of editing on this manuscript. She did a line edit, which was like in the early summer, I guess, and then at the end of the summer, she did the copy edit, and then I had proofreading and stuff. But, like, it was a time. Remind me, if I ever write a book again, please, that the summer is a really bad time to set myself a deadline for doing anything. It's just the worst idea, and it will make me terribly stressed. But anyway, luckily, I had Steph who kept me very sane. Or at least as sane as could be wished under the circumstances. So, thank you, and it's nice to see you. What? I think I just I read the latest message and was like, that's a reply to a question that I don't know. But anyway, best job I've ever had. Oh, just got the book in hand. Amazing. There was somebody who was like, we're two, the book is out for delivery and they're 2 stops away from me, so that was very exciting. For as long as we read a book, it is alive. Sane is a spectrum. You know what? Absolutely. What is your day job? YouTuber. Yep, I make YouTube videos about things. I mean, Caroline and Rosamond were just a kind of random fun project that I thought I was going to. It was like literally June of 2022. I woke up at 4:30 or so in the morning, maybe 5:30. One of those times where you're like, oh, I can just lie here for another couple of hours and go back to sleep. This is awesome. I like the fact that Rosie and her family believe being heavily armed. Absolutely. But Jill, don't set yourself book deadlines in the summer again. Yeah, but I'm lying there, just like chilling out, thinking I don't have to get up. Nobody wants my attention. Nobody wants anything. This is awesome. And then I had this idea where there was I think Caroline, she wasn't called Caroline, but she was an author or a screenwriter, and she was auditioning fantasy heroines, and the fantasy heroine who turned up was much too old and much too sensible. And this is how those characters were born. And I was like, that would make a really funny sketch, because I've been watching a lot of TikTok skits which were, meta-ish. And I was like, that would be really funny. And yep, that was where we started, and this is where we have ended up. We are 2 minutes to midnight. Can we have a check-in after a few weeks? I'd love to hear what Rosie and Caroline think of the sales numbers. Oh dear. Yes, so I don't know what they are going to be. At some point, I hope, Ingram Spark will tell me what the ebook pre-order numbers were. But they can't until the ebook companies report them to them, and that they're not quick about that, which is fair enough. But I will get the ebook outside of Kindle numbers eventually, and so I will give you all an update, because it's interesting. Just got mine in the mail. Amazing. We are so close to midnight, and this is where we're going to find out if Americans actually get it at my midnight or your midnight. Has anyone done a parody of your book or video yet? Maybe? I don't know. I think there are a couple of people who have done things which are along similar lines, but we'll see. This is your 1 minute warning. Got book and started watching stream. Hurry up and stop streaming so I can read the book. Well, I'm going and, we'll probably go to a couple of minutes after midnight, but we're going to find out if the Americans are getting it now or later. I hope that the British people are getting it now, at least. Also, I'm starting to lose my voice. Can you hear it? That is the wrong... Okay. KDP, tell me something. So the Kindle ebook pre-order is live, and it is marked at the moment as ready for release. And so I assume that if I refresh it in like, maybe not in 10 seconds, because, you know, if I refresh it in like 30 seconds, then it might say something different. Or it might not. We'll find out. We will find out. I'm really hoping, hopefully your book spurs a whole new popular genre of metafiction. Yeah, because then people would know where to put my book in the shop. As opposed to, yay! It is midnight. Let us see what happens if I refresh the page. No, it still says ready for release. Okay. We might have to wait a minute or two. It's cool. Mine says I will get it at 8 p.m, which is in 1 hour. Okay. I'm American. My Kindle Wrap says it will be released on the 5th. Looks like it's available in the US. Not yet. I mean, to be fair, thank you for all of the little hearts and congratulations and things. It's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride. If you had told me in 2020, yeah, so if you told me in 2019, it's like, yeah, you're gonna quit your job, you're gonna become a full-time YouTuber, and you're gonna hit 100,000 subscribers next year, and then you're gonna start doing a random series which you don't really get paid for because it's YouTube Shorts, and I'd be like, what's a YouTube Short? Vertical video, which you don't know about yet because it's not really so much of a thing, and then you're gonna turn that into a series, and then everyone's gonna like, you know, people are gonna like the series, and then they're gonna ask you to write a book, and then you're actually going to do that. Like, you're actually gonna do that, and then people are gonna read it and buy it. In like, it's absolute madness because nope, still says ready for release, scheduled for February the 5th. Okay, well, I don't know. We'll hang around for another couple of minutes and see if it, you know, does anything, but I assume that it's gonna show up. It'll show up when it shows up, and that might be in a few hours, or it might be in 8 hours, or it might be when it's midnight for you, or it might be a few minutes after that. I don't know, but I've lost my chat because I moved the window. Oh no, come back. Amazon still prompts me for pre-order rather than buy. Yeah, I think it's it says tomorrow. Okay, well, my Kindle version just downloaded. Okay, person whose Kindle version just downloaded. That's awesome. I am very happy to hear it. Where are you that it just downloaded? Because if you're in the UK, that's great. But if you're not, I'm not going to read it till more civilized hour. I take it you are in the UK then. Tschüss. One of the few German words I do still remember because they used it a lot. Also, moin, which apparently they only say in northern Germany, but that's where I was. So, East Coast US not up on my Kindle yet. February 5th, so you might need to wait till midnight. Fair enough. I think the lesson to be learned here is that the internet makes things complicated. France, okay. Oh gosh, you're even ahead of us. It's like 1 a.m. for you. You should probably go to sleep. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that you have to go to sleep, but it might not be a bad idea. You know, I'm just saying, maybe a little bit. It is okay to go to sleep. Sleep is good. Still waiting on an email from Barnes and Noble. I spent 3 months in Germany, and every time I went anywhere, people would say moin, and I thought that I was just mishearing them, and they were just saying morgen at all times of the day, until, I swear this is true, until I saw moin moin, M-O-I-N is how you spell it, with an exclamation mark on it, written on a wheelie bin, and I was like, that's what everybody's saying. It's just like hi. That's what it is. Okay, I've got this now. Midnight here. I'm gonna sit and eat cheese and read this book. You know what? It's cool. Amazon lets you add it to the cart normally on the west coast of the US. It's 4 p.m. here. That's cool. That is good to know. Let us refresh that page one more time and see if it is doing anything, because it's now 4 minutes past. No. Prepared to release on your chosen date. I mean, it told me it was going to release at midnight today, so I don't know. But nonetheless, it is officially release day. at least in my time zone, and so that's pretty good. And Amazon, you know, they do the things, so they will give you the book. They will give you the book. I don't know when, but it'll happen. Mine's enough. What's a wheelie bin? It's a... How do I explain what a wheelie bin is? It's a bin that you put rubbish in. It's like an outside bin, and it has a lid. If you've ever watched Doctor Who, if you've ever watched like the new Who with Christopher Eccleston, the very first episode, Rose has Rose's boyfriend getting swallowed by a wheelie bin. It's a sort of tall, thin bin. It's usually grey or black. Recycling ones come in different colours. That there are two wheels on it so that you can tip it up and move it places. Anyway, that was a weird thing to it wants to be difficult for you. Yeah. With that, I'm good. Crash. That is fair. Trash can. You made it. Congratulations on officially being a published author. Yeah. Thank you. Delivery at Quine is missing. Fair. That is wildly specific. Pizza. There we go. Someone else saw that episode. Okay, it's cool. What can I say? Florida man once caught a gator in a wheelie bin whilst on that viral video. Oh, I saw that. I was like, what even is that? But there was a man, and he really did just, you know, shove this thing in a wheelie bin. Just downloaded in the UK. Just two people. Mine is coming on now. Yes, that's what we need. It is best description of a wheelie binner. Yeah, it's midnight here. It's midnight here. You should definitely not take anything I say as you know, coherent in any way. Best-selling author Jill Bearup. Oh dear. Yeah, we're back on the Barnes & Noble bestseller list, actually. I will tell you that before we go, because oh no, we're off it again. Because we're back down to sales rank. Oh wait, no, that's the ebook. The ebook sales rank is 17,955. That's fair enough. We are on the bestseller list for the paperback, which is sales rank 112. I don't think we're going to get back up to the dizzying heights of number 2 on the store, like we did last time, because you can actually just buy it on Amazon now. The only reason it got up there was because, you know, nobody could buy it on Amazon, so Americans could only buy it on Barnes & Noble for a while. International best-selling author. Yep, that's me. Anyway, it is... Your hot enemy must have delayed publishing. I'm in Colombia. My Kindle says it'll be downloaded at midnight my time. Awesome. I am glad to hear it. Anyway, how do we get a signed copy? Currently you can't. Currently there is no mechanism by which I can do that, which would not make me a crazy person, basically. We might do something like that at some point, but sorting out the shipping would be a bit of a nightmare. I did signed copies for the, 25 people who worked on the book. So if you were an editor or the typesetter or the cover artist or one of the proofreaders, everybody got a signed copy with their name in it. And that was I was happy to do it, especially because the proofreaders, they did it for free. Everybody else I paid market rates. Actually, I still owe my cover artist money. Anyway, that's not the point. I should go pay him. But that's not the point. The point is that I was happy to do it, but it was a tremendous amount of faff. And my postmistress, I gave my postmistress a copy of the book as well. She doesn't know anything about YouTube, but she apparently liked it, so that was good. She was like, I'm halfway through, I'm really enjoying it, the next time I came in, so that was nice. But, I was like, here, I've got 5 to go to different parts of America, and this one has to go to, Germany, and this one has to go to, Portugal, or whatever. It was, there were a lot of people, and several to Canada, and all of that kind of thing. Congratulations on your novel's release. Thank you so much. Book plates. Book plates would definitely be a better option, I think. But anyway, Amazon is still telling me that it's, you know, ready, but people are starting, if you are in the time zone where it's midnight, then people are starting to get it right now, so that's good. Your signed editor money. Yes, well, you know, that one is due on completion, and like I said, we have not made a great deal of progress on that, but that's okay. We're one crisis at a time. Have you sent your copies of the book to the UK National Libraries? Not yet, but that is on my list for tomorrow. Because I was like, I can put things in a parcel tomorrow. I think I will be able to do that, even though I did not get a lot of sleep tonight. Will not have got a lot of sleep tonight. There we go. My Kindle copy has arrived in the... Ooh! You are number 1 in humour and satire on the Dutch Amazon. Okay, no, I'm going to have to stay now for a minute. Hang on. Dutch Amazon. Amazon. Just stab me now. English edition. Go on then. Because I absolutely need to make that... No, that's clearly the wrong version. Oh, there we go. Number 1 bestseller in humor and satire. I love it. Oh. No, I have to, you know, one must have a screenshot of absolutely everything, including being number 1 bestseller in humor and satire on Dutch Amazon. So thank you. That's cool. Oh, it's 30% off on Dutch Amazon. That's fun. So, you know, if you are Dutch, you should buy it. It's also number 6 in romantic comedy and number 9 in fantasy romance. So, it's good to be me. Anyway. 8 p.m. East Coast US, Amazon says Kindle will drop 8 p.m. February 5th. Oh, that's interesting. Library of Congress for copyright. See, it's, you know, I'm British, and so it's all automatically already copyrighted. But I am going to send a copy to the Library of Congress, because then you can something libraries. I don't know, but that is also on my list for tomorrow. Check if my Kindle has arrived, but you're currently playing on what I read on, if that makes sense. No, that absolutely makes sense. Paperback currently at number 9 on Amazon. I'm doing really well. Amazon's humorous fantasy bestseller is Kindle number 26. My book is supposed to be on my doorstep in the next 5 minutes. Amazing. Okay. Some of you have to go, so you should do that. Baron Mabry stole all the books. Yes, it's good to be queen. Indeed. It's very fun. I am very much looking forward to all of the numbers go wee, which is a joyous thing. Anyway, I am actually just running out of ability to talk. Number 54 in foreign languages on Amazon Germany. Oh, pretty good. Please add ISBN to the video description. I will try to do that probably tomorrow. I will also attempt to put the timestamps of the parts where I read things in the description as well. You really spoke just in time for my husband's birthday. Awesome. Right, I'm going to read you out the ISBN number, though. I will put it in the description as well, but for those of you who are here right now, the ebook ISBN number, you might want to get a pen. 978-1739-431907. And the paperback ISBN is 978-17394-31914. Go to bed, Jill. You're not my mum, and I know this because she will already be asleep because it's midnight. I told her I was live streaming, and she said, she rang me earlier today and said, "Are you live streaming?" I went, "No, Mum, I wouldn't have picked up the phone if I was. I'm not doing that till 10. Oh, it's very late." I'm like, yeah, that is a true fact, but here we are. Anyway, let us cut it there, as it were. Thank you all so much for coming. It has been a lot of fun. That's it for a sharp hook. Amazon UK are 58 in fantasy romance. Awesome. You can add timestamps tomorrow. I mean, technically, it will be today, but nonetheless, after the sleeping. Anyway, bye, Steph. And bye to everyone else. I'm gonna hit the button now, and, well, I'm gonna hit the button in like 10 seconds when you actually, have heard the part where I say bye. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. It has been a pleasure. I hope you all have a good evening.